a couple of weeks ago, I started feeling a bit off. Physically feeling great, absolutely enthralled, in love with every other aspect of my life. I've got purpose, I've got meaning, I've got great connections. My relationship with my fiance is amazing. I couldn't ask for anything more. My kids are absolutely beautiful. They're thriving. They're doing great. They're taking on new challenges. With my work as a coach, I'm absolutely in love with my clients. They're doing amazingly. Very fulfilled with that. What more could I want? Like jiu-jitsu is going great. Physically, I'm feeling awesome. However, psychologically, there's something missing. There's something going on for the last few weeks that I couldn't put my finger on until now. A few weeks ago, I started looking for a new book. I started looking for a new book to read because it's been a while since I've read a physical book. Usually I do audiobooks to be able to get my knowledge up and to be able to apply it practically into my life to turn it into wisdom. And so what I found was this book, King, Warrior, Magician, Lover, Rediscovering the Archetypes of the Mature Masculine. And so because it's been in my wish list for a few years, I thought, okay, it's time to read it. There's a reason why it's in there. There's a reason why the work speaks to me on such a level. I've listened to Robert Moore's book, The King Within, and that spoke volumes to me. So I thought I'd dive into Robert Moore and Douglas Gillette's fantastic book that, so many copies have been sold. So a few weeks ago when I started noticing this psychological pain that was happening where things weren't feeling the way that I wanted them to feel, I guess my results weren't up to scratch and I needed to do something about it, but I didn't know where to start. I was in this pain that was very familiar to me that you might know prior to transformation, where there's an unease to your psychological state. There's a bit of chaos. There's a bit of mental chatter. There's some things that you really want to change, but you don't know where to start. Hey, Dragonfly. So I thought, okay, I've got to do something. I have to do something about this to be able to change my internal state, to make things happen the way that I want them to happen. I looked at my partner's schedule. We figured out when the kids were able to go to my mum's, and I asked her whether she wanted to come with me or not because I'm going to book a camping trip. And as you can see by the backdrop behind me, I'm out in Springbrook. I've got my tent set up over there. I've got my ute just there. And I'm out in what turns out to be some form of pseudo initiation. In tribes around the world, initiations and rites of passage for men, a lot of them are taken away from the feminine. I've removed myself from my fiance and my children, 2 girls. They're taken out into the wilderness. They are left in solitary isolation. I'm out here on my own. They go through a rites of passage of, a lot of the time it's pain and it's turmoil and it's an arduous task that they have to undergo. And like I said, this is a pseudo ritual, a pseudo initiation. Last night, I had the biggest headache that I've ever had. And it's because I'm choosing to do this fasted. I'm choosing to abstain from food and I'm only having water and a little bit of coffee. But that pain that I went through was something that I had to endure. I had no Panadol. I had no means to be able to remove this pain from my body. It's something that I had to just sit through the suffering. So the rites of passage and this pseudo initiation that I'm going through, it's not something that I consciously understood what I was going through. It's something that was unconscious. It was something that was instinctual inside of myself that I'm putting myself through. There is something that I am craving inside of myself. I know in the modern world, initiations are very rare to come by. Maybe you're initiated into the army will make a man out of you. Maybe you're initiated through the church, through, some rite of passage, a bar mitzvah or something like that. The initiation process is absolutely paramount to becoming a man. And sadly, in the modern world, we're missing it. Over the last few weeks, I keep having recurring dreams, and if you've been following me for a while now or we're friends, you know that I have quite vivid dreams. I have quite prophetic dreams. Lots of symbolism, lots of metaphors, lots of warnings from my unconscious. I mean, hell, this tattoo here of Anubis and the Ankh and the feathers of Ma'at, they are symbols from my unconscious. So my dreams being very, very prophetic, I have to pay attention to them, because if I don't, I get blindsided by life. If I'm not paying attention to the things that are happening in my dreams, that are happening in my psychology, that are happening in my daydreaming, in my journaling, in my emotions, in my reactions versus responses, then I'm going to get blindsided by something in life, and life will come along and humble me. So because of these dreams, because of the nature of what's been happening, of the contents of what's been happening, there's been a symbol over and over that's been occurring. And that symbol or set of words that's been happening is kill the old self. Now, that seems quite absurd. Why would you want to kill the old self? There's actually a really good reasoning here. The old self has to die so that you don't carry on the old boyhood, boy psychology ways into manhood, into adult life. Boy psychology, as these guys go through in this book, is exactly what I'm looking to remove, looking to be done with, so that I can evolve and step fully into the king, warrior, lover, and magician. Ultimately, the thing that I'm noticing is my life isn't up to the new standards that all of a sudden have been birthed and allowed to manifest. So the lover is the instigational energy. The lover is all about creating new things, setting standards, having requirements, and holding boundaries, making sure that these are the levels that you accept in life and you don't go below them. And if you do, that puts you into the prostitute energy, into the shadow energy. So you're literally selling your soul, you're selling your physical vitality for something that's not up to scratch, that's not up to standards. And so over the past few weeks, I've noticed that I'm not up to my standards. My new standards have been created, whether it be consciously or unconsciously, and I haven't been meeting those standards. Maybe you've felt like that in your life, where all of a sudden you've created a massive upheaval and you've destroyed things. You've intentionally ruined things, relationships, business partnerships, client relationships, jobs, friendships, whatever it is. You've deliberately destroyed something because something has been not up to your standards. So this is why I'm out here going through this pseudo initiation, because I'm initiating myself into these higher standards. And the standards come around what I accept for myself when it comes to, I guess, my physical nature. I've been overweight for a few years because of an injury, but we all know that weight is determined from the energy expenditure that we, one, take out, and two, take in. So the amount of calories that I've been consuming hasn't been meeting the amount that's going out. I haven't been holding myself to the greatest physical standards because I've been giving myself a cop-out. So the things that I've journaled, and I journaled heavily this morning, I've uncovered there's a lot of physical things that I'm doing that are potentially fucking up the results in my life. And so I need to change that. So this is me stepping into my lover, stepping into higher standards, higher requirements, setting boundaries for myself, making it public, making a declaration from my king energy to be able to say, this is the decree, this is the line in the sand, and now I hand it off to the warrior energy to be able to go and make it happen. Some of the standards that I've set for myself is around nutrition, around training, around recovery, around self-care. That's a huge one around self-care. And ultimately, food, nutrition, diet, these things come into self-care. Because if you are indulgent in your food and you are eating fast food, you're eating things that are high caloric in nature that you don't necessarily need, but you're doing it to make yourself feel good because you want that quick dopamine fix of, whatever it is, KF, Guzman, so on and so forth. You're not taking responsibility and control for what you could be as a man. I've always been very athletic. I've always been strong. I've always trained. I've always done all these things physically. But for the past 4 years, I've been overweight. And that's just not good enough. When I am the king of my household and the king of my domain, should I not be the greatest warrior there is in my kingdom? That's something that I want you guys to ponder as well. If you're the king of your domain, if you're the ruler of your household, of your life, should you not be the greatest warrior there is? So what is a warrior? A warrior is the grown-up hero. The hero is the boy archetype that a lot of us go out and we try and conquer and we do new things and, we take lots of risks and we go and get the rewards. We go and conquer things. That is what the hero goes out and does. But the warrior is the integrated version of that. The warrior is a little bit more calculated because it's mature. The warrior understands the risks and does all he can to be able to mitigate everything so that he can get the results that he wants. He will leave no stone unturned. And for the past few years, it just hasn't been up to my standards because I didn't have these standards inside. There's so much that I've left undone throughout the last 10 years that I haven't taken full responsibility for, that I've just left by the wayside. There's things that I haven't mastered when they could easily be confronted and taken care of. Like, I have a loan from when I was 18 years old that I'm still drip feeding because I haven't taken responsibility for. And that's not what a man does. The man takes responsibility for all things in his life. He confronts things. He faces the dragon in the cave, regardless of how scared he is. He shows up with courage. He shows up with bravery. He shows up testing his mettle at all times. He doesn't cower. He doesn't hide. He rises. He faces the occasion, regardless of what it is. An interesting part from being out here, I wear a hoop band, and my recovery overnight from one night in nature has been the best it has ever been. One night in nature has reset me. One night in solitude, in nature, in the rainforest, has reset me. My heart rate variability shot up to 110. My resting heart rate was down at 49 beats per minute. It's amazing what we do when we remove ourselves from the chaos of life. It's amazing how centered, grounded we can become when you take yourself voluntarily outside of life. Life's going to happen. And the more and more that you stay inside of it and you stick with the stresses of life, the less you're going to recover, the less you're going to have as untapped energy to be able to use to have a fulfilling life. The funny thing about this pseudo initiation is I didn't know that I was going through an initiation. I didn't know that this transformation that I'm voluntarily putting myself through is a initiation of sorts. So again, I invite you, set your standards, make the decree, take immense action, and then transcend time and space. And until I see you again, much love.